Hello and welcome. My name's Dawid and this is the channel where I do tech stuff. Now I haven't done a build in a while, so I thought maybe I should do a build. So I really tried to capture the essence of unboxing your new hardware for a build. It's like falling in love immediately with your firstborn child. Now the whole point of this video is to see whether or not you actually have to spend a whole lot of money buying cutting-edge hardware to get a really good gaming experience. Now, the way I'm going to try and illustrate that you don't have to is by using a Z77 platform gaming machine. Now, yes, I'm going to use a fancy graphics card in it, but that's not the point because the CPU costs a lot less than buying something like even a 7700K. Now, people talk at length about how there has been very small generational upgrades between the Intel CPUs all the way up until, well, Coffee Lake, to be honest. But that means that potentially you could be getting very similar performance to a 7700K for less money than a high-end i3. And another bonus is it uses DDR3, which is a little bit cheaper than DDR4. Now the parts that I'm going to be using for the build today is, well, a 3770K, which is the high-end Ivy Bridge CPU on the kind of consumer side. I'm going to be using 16 gigs of Kingston DDR3, and then, well, the main centerpiece in this build is the graphics card. It's going to be a GTX 1070 Ti, which I happen to get for a fairly good price. And yes, there are other things like a 240 gig SSD, and I got a Seasonic power supply secondhand, paid basically nothing for it, and because it's a pretty decent Seasonic power supply, it's probably going to outlive me. For the case, I'm going to use a Fractal Design Meshify C, as you could probably see in the beginning B-roll. As far as thermal paste goes, I used Ectotherm by EK. It's a little bit of a weird thermal paste, to be honest. It's very liquid. So when you put it on the CPU, you accidentally squirt a huge amount on. And there's a "that's what she said" joke in there somewhere, but it is a bit weird. Hopefully it works very well. Now I have to be honest though, this isn't the first configuration that I started out with. First off, I bought a 2600K with some Gigabyte Z68 motherboard. I put everything together and, well, let's see what happens. Hello and welcome to another episode of Dawid Jumpstarting Janky Shit. This is all very terrifying because, again, like the previous episode of Dawid Jumpstarting Janky Shit, there was an expensive graphics card on the line. So this is the first time that I'm going to be trying to power on this PC that's built from an assortment of second-hand components off of Yahoo Auction over the course of like 3 months, and nothing's been tested at this point. Even the power supply is second-hand, but that's probably the most reliable seeming thing here. But again, I don't know what terrible thing the previous owner did to it. So let's just jump the... Okay, so the power supply is officially on. And now, because it's a motherboard that doesn't cost $800, it doesn't have a jump start button. So let's do it with the old manly way, with a screwdriver. Ooh! I mean, it was briefly on. Oh, there we go. Now it continued cycling like that almost indefinitely. So then I thought, maybe it's the power supply. So I tried a different power supply and it made no difference. And then I was like, well, you know what, it might be the CPU, because I've had an experience with a faulty CPU doing exactly that before. So then I went on to Yahoo Auctions and had a look around, and I found the 3770K for a pretty good price, to be honest. I waited a couple days, it came, I very excitedly put it in the machine, and it did, well, the same thing. And then I went, wait. Maybe the reason it's doing this is because it's a Z68 motherboard, and a 3770K shouldn't work in it without a BIOS update. So maybe it's because the BIOS isn't the right version that the CPU doesn't work. So then again, I went onto Yahoo Auctions for the third time, and then found a Celeron Sandy Bridge CPU for, it's Ivy Bridge, not Lake. Did I say Ivy Bridge? I can't remember. Anyway, I got a Sandy Bridge Celeron for $5. Again, waited a couple days, it came, I put it in, and it did the exact same thing. So my worst fears had come to truth, it was the motherboard. So then, again, for the fourth time, I had to go onto Yahoo Auctions and then find a motherboard. This time I found a Z77 motherboard, which is a better motherboard and a better deal, it's got more features. It came in the mail, and well, this is what happened. Okay, so here we go with take, I think it's 5 or 6 at this point. I didn't record all of them because I didn't want you to see me on the verge of killing myself, which again is fairly standard for a Dawid Does Tech Stuff build. Almost forgot the name of my channel there. But I've got a new motherboard in, which you've probably seen in all the B-roll. So let's plug it in and see if it fires up. Okay, so here we go, here's the moment of truth. This new motherboard also doesn't have a power on button, which is pretty annoying. So here's the trusty screwdriver of savagery. So let's see if we can get it going and what it does. Let's see, where are the post LEDs? I think they're up there, okay. Oh, actually, I think it doesn't have post LEDs, because there's nothing giving me an indication of post. But the fans are spinning up, and it's not died yet. So that's a good sign. I think it works. So now I can put it in the PC. I thought that maybe before I put the PC or put the motherboard in the case, I should do a bit of a rundown of the new motherboard, and I've got some B-roll that I can put in between this as well. But this is a really fairly decent Z77 motherboard. You can see up here with the power phases, and let me just get it in focus, there we go. It's got 10 power phases, which is pretty good, and all of the reviews I've seen of this motherboard indicates that it overclocks really well, so I might be able to get a fairly hefty overclock out of the 3770K I have under there. Now, interesting things about the motherboard is the dirt on these modules here. So the whole motherboard looks like it's brand new, except for some dust and stuff on here, on just these three. But so the three of them there have just like a bunch of dirt on them, and there's like a small spot of dust over there. It's a little bit unusual, but it's actually a really nice motherboard. It's got 2 USB 3 front headers, which is pretty great. Those are really nice. And another kind of upgrade over the other motherboard that's lying, oh, let me get focus, over there, is that motherboard has the CPU fan header over here, which is a really weird spot to have a CPU kind of front header, or fan header, sorry. So this one, it's kind of in a more normal spot. You can see it over there, and it's actually got 2. So it's got CPU fan main and CPU fan optional. Yes, I actually don't have it plugged into the right spot, so I'll change that. Yeah, so it's got fairly nice looking heat sinks, which looks like it'll be able to kind of cool the VRM properly. And now that we know that it more or less works, let's get the case out of the wrapping and then put all this stuff in it. Now, my first impressions from this fetal position that I'm in now of the case is that I really like it. I like the look of it. That front panel mesh looks quite cool. I know that it's a bit divisive. People are like, oh, I don't know if I like it, or yeah. But I think it's quite plain looking, and people, yeah, I think it's fine. One of the things that is an issue for me about the case, though, is this side panel. This tempered glass side panel is really dark, and yeah, you can't, I mean, it kind of defeats the purpose of having it there if you can't see through it. But I'm going to put a bunch of lighting in it, and I'm going to see how much it actually shines through. I've just finished installing the motherboard into the case, and I have to say this is by far the most pleasant building experience I've ever had in a case. It feels a lot bigger than the S340, which I did a build in a couple months ago, with things like clearance up here is way better, and it's a tiny case. It's a really small case, but it's really easy to get those standoffs in there and to screw them down. It's going to be pretty easy getting the power cable into the CPU there. So unfortunately, I'm not going to show a huge amount of the build process because, well, this video is already getting a little bit long, and well, it's the same all the time. You put a motherboard in a thing and then a graphics card in the motherboard, and then you kind of struggle with cables a little bit and it's over. But one thing that I do want to say is, again, the Meshify C is an amazing case. It was really easy to build in, and it was really easy to cable manage as well. It's not the most amazing cable management I did, but it was pretty easy to do. Even though it doesn't have nearly as much space between the power supply and the hard drive cage to stuff cables, there's just enough to get all the stuff in there, which is impressive because I had the 30 centimeter extension cables on as well, which means you have a lot more cable to actually hide in places. Now let's see if all of the parts in the case works and if we can install Windows on it. That happens every single time I build a PC. I forget to turn the power supply on and then have this huge anxiety around whether or not it's going to start. Press it, have nothing happened, and be like, oh, something terrible's happened. And then I just realize I haven't turned it on. Ooh. It's a fairly good start, I guess. There we go. It's so quiet. But it works! Yay! Yes, it worked. It worked first try, in fact. Well, that's not including the 6 or 7 tries before, but the first in-case build worked. And that's another reason why you should always test your hardware outside of your case before you put it inside, because I went to a lot of effort doing cable management and stuff, and then if you turn it on and it doesn't work, you're probably gonna end up blowing your own brains out. I think I've mentioned suicide like twice in this video. Maybe that's a little bit too much. Maybe I'll cut it, I don't know. Anyway, the thing is, this is really exciting because there's some sexy B-roll coming your way so that we can see what the finished build looks like. And with that, unfortunately, the video is getting too long, and I think I'm gonna have to do the benchmarks in another video. And yes, I know that's an infuriating thing for YouTubers to do, like that when you have like a liquid cooling build and people do it over like 27 videos. I know I hate it too, and I really would have wanted to put the benchmarks in here, but the thing is that like Ryzen 2 is coming out like in a couple days, and I don't want to have to reach a conclusion about how, yes, maybe you should spend money on a 3077K instead of anything else within $100 of that price, and then have the Ryzen 2600 be amazingly powerful at gaming for the price. Yeah, I don't want my video to be wrong 2 days after it came out. The thing is, I'm not on any level going to suggest that a quad core is going to be amazing for productivity, but for gaming it's pretty great. So that's just a bit of a hint as to what the next video is going to be. So in the next video that's going to be coming next week, I'm going to do a detailed breakdown of whether or not there is any point in kind of building a Z77 PC in 2018, and now because I have a second video to do it in, maybe I have more time to go into detail about that. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, do like it, please. That sounded very desperate, but if you want to see the next video next week, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and then press the little belly thing so that you definitely do see it. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Until next time, bye bye! Bye bye, bye. Wait, let me do that one more time. Until next time, bye. Wait. Until next time, bye bye. Until next time, see you? No, no one says see you. Until next time, bye-bye! No! Until next time, bye. Bye-bye. What did I used to say? I can't remember how I used to end videos. Bye. Until next time, see you. No. Whatever, one of them will work. Just on a side note that I know that almost definitely no one will care about, but I actually had to refilm all of this because my girlfriend was watching YouTube. Notice how I casually mention I have a girlfriend there, but my girlfriend was watching YouTube of like a guy fingering pork basically in the background for like the whole time I was filming, and I didn't realize it was so R-rated what she was watching behind me. And then like chicken fingering also happened. I mean, the guy was cooking, right? He wasn't actually molesting anything, but he was definitely, that food definitely had to be of the age of consent considering what he was doing to it.